Hi everybody, thank you for watching. My name is David. I want to do a short video today on when emotional abuse is normal. And it's sad to say that for a lot of us it becomes normal. And really the biggest reason is we don't have anything to compare our life to. So, everyone's childhood is normal. Everyone I ask, when I have a client, I ask them about their childhood, and they're like, oh, it's fine, nothing, no problem. And we start uncovering like pretty drastic, traumatic experiences that are way too much for a child to handle, let alone an adult. And they think it's normal. And one example is like if we think, or if we watch our father hit our mother. For a female, for a daughter growing up, and I've heard it, I've listened to females tell me, yes, I know hitting is wrong, but at least I know when he hits me, he loves me. This kind of things. And it's just what we're used to, what we grew up with, what we saw, what we're exposed to. Because I'm telling you, our caretakers completely mold who we are, completely shape and mold the person that we become. Whether they don't do anything, whether they totally neglect us, they're still making us the person that we've become. This is why the thought, for some of you guys, the thought of healthy people or being around them or dating healthy people might seem boring. We're kind of used to not boring, aren't we? I've said this a lot in my videos, and might be a bold statement to a lot of you, but if we dated abusers, if we dated emotional abusers specifically, and we fell in love with them, or we married them, or we lived with them, and we stayed with them, and they broke our hearts, I'm telling you, at the very least in our childhood, we were neglected. And neglected isn't always just leaving the kid down on the corner or on the floor and not picking them up and just ignoring them. It's just not meeting that child's needs. Vitally important. So I want to talk about I think there's three factors to this on why this becomes normal in our lives. What the kind of abuse we receive in our childhood seems to happen in adulthood, and it just seems like it's normal. Three factors I truly believe are important with this, and that is, the first one is trauma and abuse equals shame. So the first one is shame, and that shame is caused from all kinds of different abuse, bad experiences, basically where our caretakers make us feel like we're bad people, not bad things, not we did bad things, we are bad people. And that's shame. That's a big, vital, important part of this. Number two is what's familiar. What is familiar? Like I talked about a minute ago, about the girl who, watches her father hit her mother, and he starts hitting her. At least it's something familiar. It's something I know. It's something that I've seen my whole life. My parents did it. My parents accepted it. My mom accepted it. My dad accepted it. I accept it. Okay, what do we see growing up in our lives? What kind of toxicity was there? Did our parents fight and scream and yell all the time? If they did, you're going to find yourself sometime in your adult life in that position. Now, how you deal with that is up to you. Most likely, if we lived with it for 18 years, then we might live with it in a relationship with someone else. And number three, learned to meet needs incorrectly. And that starts right at childhood. Right at childbirth. Right after childbirth, our parents meet our needs. That's how we know to do it. But if our parents neglect those needs, we learn to meet our needs incorrectly. And it's vitally important, because that just sets us up for failure for the rest of our lives. Okay? And then we find ourselves in these emotionally abusive relationships that we don't get out of, that went too far and ruined us. It's because we don't know how to meet our needs the right way, properly. And I mean the right way for you. So, number one, shame. We are bad. We deserve neglect and pain. If we live with neglect and pain, we may feel that we deserve that forever. If this is normal, listen, If this kind of abuse is normal, if this kind of neglect is normal, if this kind of pain that I feel is normal, then I am the problem. You see that? That's shame. Okay? The number 2 one I said, familiar. It's a cycle. You're in the cycle. Okay? This cycle constantly repeats itself. And that's what we always talk about when we talk about these abusive cycles that we're in. We live with the abuse and we grow up and it just keeps cycling itself. So history will always repeat itself until you figure out why, until you figure out how to change it. Okay? If this is normal, if all this stuff is normal, how do we strive for better? If all we know is homelessness, if we grow up and being homeless, living on the streets, for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, how do we strive for better? If you live in emotional abuse all the time, how do you strive for better if you don't know it exists? Okay? Learned. Number 3, learned. I talk about a fear cage, neglect. Okay? How were you taught how to handle danger? How were you taught how to deal with your fears? Were you taught how to deal with danger? When you were in danger, did your parents remove you or take you out of that danger and show you how to do that? Or were you left in danger? Because neglect is one of the most traumatic things you can experience as a child. We can't handle our emotions. We reach out, we need those emotions regulated by our caretakers. And when our caretakers ignore that and don't regulate our emotions, it makes us more dysregulated. And that kind of emotions that a child cannot handle, that are so much more intense than the emotions that an adult experiences, that kind of fear makes you feel like you're in a fear cage and you can't escape. You're hopeless, you're helpless, and you do nothing about it because your parents did nothing about it. What that means is you don't know how to deal and handle with dangerous things and fear. You suppress that dangerous feeling. You walk into danger. You accept danger. You don't even notice danger. What have you been taught? That's what happens. Never speaking out. Never talking. What kind of responsibilities did you have as a child? I find a ton of you guys out there with all kinds of responsibilities. That is so common. And I mean those kinds of responsibilities where you're taking care of your siblings, or you may be taking care of your own caretakers. Okay, because they're emotionally battered, they're crazy, they're sick, they're drunk, they're on drugs. Is that normal? Is that what you've learned? Does that make you feel like a bad person? Hell yeah. Yeah, it does. All of it. There are always new discoveries waiting to help you grow. So keep looking, please. Keep looking, keep learning, keep discovering things about yourself, about humans, about emotions, about emotional intelligence and responsibilities and relationships. Okay? Keep learning. Keep learning, and it just helps you keep loving. I promise. I promise. All right? Thanks, guys. I hope that helped. I know it's kind of short, kind of small, and not really detailed, but I just hope that will help to kind of just, I say a lot of these kind of stuff, I just keep putting it in your heads so you keep hearing it, okay? So it gets in there. Thanks, guys. Any questions, go down below and ask me. I'll answer them, okay? If you can, share this. Help me out and share this where you can with people who need it, maybe on social forums, social groups and stuff like that. All right? Thank you, guys. Always love yourself first, and I'll see you again. Bye.